friends, what is good? Derek here from Bomb Socks with more Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ, and we do it one bite at a time. So section 107. 107 is a fantastic section. 100 verses here. So we're going to camp here for a few days and just talk about 107, which is about the Melchizedek priesthood. Okay? Now, before I get into that, there's a cool little thing in the introduction of the Come Follow Me that I think is great in describing section 107. It says, at first glance, Doctrine and Covenants 107 might seem to be only about organizing priesthood offices into a leadership structure for the Lord's church. And indeed, by the time this revelation was published, church membership was already outgrowing the capacity of the few leaders it had in place. So outlining the roles and responsibilities of the first presidency, the Quorum of the 12, the 70 bishops' quorum presidencies was surely needed and helpful. But there's so much more to the divine instructions in section 107 than just how to organize priesthood offices and quorums. Here the Lord teaches us about an ancient priesthood order that was instituted in the days of Adam. Its purpose from the beginning has been to make it possible for God's children, including you, to receive the saving ordinances of the gospel and enjoy all the spiritual blessings of the church and have the privilege of receiving the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven and to have the heavens opened unto them. So yes, this priesthood is awesome. And I've always wondered, and it's one of the names, people don't understand too much about. The name is Melchizedek. Okay, so the question is, who is Melchizedek and why is this called the Melchizedek priesthood? So you go to section 107 verses 1 through 4 and it tells you exactly why it's called the Melchizedek priesthood. There are in the church two priesthoods, namely the Melchizedek and Aaronic, including the Levitical priesthood. That's one of my favorite titles of the priesthood because it's why the book of Leviticus is kind of a cool book. If you were to read in the Old Testament Leviticus, it's really counsel to a Levitical priesthood holder, which are the individuals who would perform sacrifices and give offerings to the Lord, very similar to our Levitical or Aaronic priesthood holders nowadays as well. Verse 2. Why the first is called the Melchizedek priesthood is because Melchizedek was such a great high priest. I love that. It's like, why it's called this? The guy was awesome. Before his day, it was called the holy priesthood after the order of the Son of God. But out of respect or reverence to the name of the Supreme Being, to avoid too frequent repetition of his name, they, the church in ancient days, called that priesthood after Melchizedek or the Melchizedek priesthood. And so, let me show you just a couple things about Melchizedek here. He was a man of faith who wrought righteousness, and when a child he feared God, or respected and reverenced God, and stopped the mouths of lions and quenched the violence of fire. So that's in Genesis. As the king of Salem, he did establish peace in the land in his days. Therefore he was called the Prince of Peace. And then the prophet Abraham, and all of this particular part's in Alma 13. The prophet Abraham paid tithes to him. So really, that's all we know about him. But apparently he was such a great high priest that they decided to call the priesthood after him. So, cool little quote from Jeffrey R. Holland here. Surely no greater tribute or more generous adulation could be mentioned than to be much like the Son of God, that one's name could be substituted for his in the title of the most powerful force in the universe, the holy priesthood after the order of the Son of God. And so I was thinking about this, to get a priesthood named after you, you got to be pretty special. So if you were to rename, and not that we're going to do this obviously, but if you were to rename the Melchizedek priesthood, who would you name it after and why? Maybe there's a priesthood holder out there that is just such a good example. Such, like I said, they're a great high priest that the priesthood is named after him. How do you then become such a great priesthood holder that someone wants to name the priesthood after you? And there's some great verses in here. You go all the way through about down to verse 20 or so, and it gives you some really cool verses about how to become such a priesthood holder that someone wants to name the priesthood after you. For example, like what I read at the beginning from that introduction, verses 18 and 19. The power and authority of the higher or Melchizedek priesthood is to hold the keys of all the spiritual blessings of the church. What a responsibility. Verse 19, to have the privilege of receiving the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, to have the heavens opened unto them, to commune with the general assembly of the church of the firstborn, and to enjoy the communion and presence of God the Father and Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant. So the opportunity to be able to have those things happen. So what do? You enable individuals to be able to have those experiences happen in their lives and that's what makes you such a good priesthood holder. So I love that. So anyway, just a few things to think about as you're studying this introduction to section 107. A couple things I want to share with you for the next couple days about 107, and then we'll conclude on Friday with section 108. So, hey, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Go check it out if you haven't already. Go to YouTube, hit subscribe on our BOM Socks channel, and make sure you go out and check out our amazingly comfortable gospel theme socks at bombsocks.com. You guys are awesome. Godspeed. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.